Good morning. I'm Pastor Steve Hom of Christ Our Savior Lutheran Church in Rockford, Michigan. And this is your COScast for Tuesday, March 16th. This past Sunday in worship, we heard the account of the Israelites suffering because of their sin. The Israelites headed on their way to the promised land, yet grumbling and complaining against Moses and against God. And so the Lord sent venomous snakes among them. And they got the point. They confessed their sin. They pleaded for God's mercy. They asked for Moses to intercede on their behalf. And God was gracious and merciful to them. In our psalm this week, Psalm 38, we see King David in a time of intense suffering. His suffering seems mainly physical. It seems King David is experiencing the results of growing old and having many ailments, physical ailments in his life, but he's also suffering at the hands of those who are plotting against him, his enemies, and he feels the effects of living in this sinful world. And he confesses his own sin to the Lord at this time of suffering and pleads for God's mercy, that he doesn't punish him or discipline him in wrath, but rather out of love. When we experience suffering, we turn to the Lord. Now, we're not always able to draw a direct line between our suffering in this world and a specific sin that we might have committed, although sometimes we do see the results, the consequences of our own sinful actions. But all suffering that we experience is a reminder of the effects of sin in this world. This side of heaven, we live in a world filled with pain, filled with suffering, because it's filled with sin. And when we suffer, it is an opportunity to turn to the Lord, to plead for his mercy, because all suffering is a reminder that ultimately we deserve far worse because of sin, eternal suffering. And yet God, in his grace, has promised to spare us from that suffering, and he rescues us from suffering in this world as well. And so in the time of suffering and pain, we have an opportunity for God to use it to bring us closer to him as we seek his relief in our time of suffering. And so we hear this morning King David lay out his heart in Psalm 38 and plead for the Lord's mercy, and we seek this as a pattern for our own lives when we experience times of suffering, that we also might turn to the Lord and ask for his relief, which he provides in his own good time and according to his gracious heart. We read Psalm 38. Lord, do not rebuke me in your anger. Do not discipline me in wrath. Indeed, your arrows have stuck in me. Your hand has come down on me. There is no health in my flesh because of your rage. There is no wellness in my bones because of my sin. Because my guilt has gone over my head. Like a heavy burden, it is too heavy for me. My wounds stink and ooze because of my folly. I am drooping. I am completely bent over all day long. I go around mourning. Even my back burns with pain. My whole body is unhealthy. I have become numb. I am totally crushed. I groan loudly because of my anxious thoughts. Those who pursue my life set traps. Those who seek to harm me talk about my ruin, and all day long they plot my deception. I am deaf. I cannot hear. Like a mute person, I cannot open my mouth. I am like a man who cannot hear. No response comes from his mouth. Yet I will wait for you, O Lord. You will answer, O Lord my God. So I said, do not let them celebrate because of me. Do not let them gloat when my foot slips. Look, I am about to fall, and I am always in pain. So I declare my guilt, and I am troubled by my sin. My aggressive enemies are numerous. Those who hate me for no reason are many. Those who repay evil for good slander me because I pursue what is good. Do not forsake me, O Lord. My God, do not be far from me. Hurry to help me, O Lord, my salvation. God be with you today as you turn to the Lord and rely on his grace and mercy for another day.